or for your kids to be in private school or whatever. And so you make the sacrifice. You give up the bigger home for something that you want even more. You may be in college and you like your alone time, but even more than that, you want to graduate with no student loans. So you take in 2 or 3 roommates, you sleep on the sofa, you do whatever it takes, you give up something you love for something you love even more, getting out of school without student loan debts. You may love going to lunch every day and getting a $7 or $8 sandwich and a $1.50 drink, and $10 is blown out the windows before you know it. But you may love even more paying off your car. You don't ever want to have a car payment again. So you give up something you love, going out to lunch. Instead, you brown bag it. It's the theme of sacrifice. In fact, I read in one article, do you know approximately how much money you can save over a lifetime of working if you just brown bag it every day? The article said over $112,000 is what you can save if you simply brown bag your lunch. And everybody doesn't have to do that, but you give up something you love for something you love even more. It's the value of sacrifice. The problem in our culture today is we're asking the wrong questions. People are asking when we go to buy something, how much down? How much a month? Instead of how much is the real cost? How much is this going to cost me over the months and months of payments? And I want to show you a real simple example. And for those of you that are older, you're not exempt from the power of this, but for those of you that are younger, man, don't miss what you can learn from this and think about how different your life can be 10 or 20 years from now if you'll actually embrace these values. If you missed last week, we looked at some statistics. We looked at the stat of those who do carry a credit card balance. Of those who do carry a credit card balance, the average this year is $14,517. Now, how do they get that? Well, they probably said, we got to take the kids to Disney while they're still young. Boom! 14 grand right there. Or I got to have the theater surround sound system for my 1-bedroom apartment. Boom! Or it was nickel and dime and quarter, whatever, 14 grand. What is the real cost of paying on that? If you look at your notes, let's assume a minimum payment of $217.93. Let's assume an 18% interest rate on this credit card. If you simply pay the minimum payment of $217 and change at 18%, how many years will it take you to pay that off? 5 years, 7 years, 8 years? No, the answer is 40 years to pay off that debt. How much does that 14 grand cost you over the full length of time? The answer is $104,606.40. That's one expensive trip to Disney, isn't it? That's expensive. That's what the real cost is. And when you finance a car, or when you finance, on your credit card, and that's in one terms or another is what's happening to you. Let me give you 2 more quick things to look at with this. If instead you didn't go to Disney and you managed to save up that same amount of money, or whatever, you worked really hard, it took you a year, it took you 5 years, whatever, and you saved up $14,000. And instead, you invested it. And since we're looking at a long-term, 40 years, I'm going to look at a little higher return and say we're doing good and we get a 12% return over 40 years. What kind of return could you get? The answer is if you invest it now for 40 years at 12%, that same amount of money is $1,350,820.94. That's a game changer, isn't it? That's a total game changer. Let's look at one more numbers with this. If instead you just saved that money and you invested it, and instead of paying off debt, you added to it what would have been your minimum payment. Does this make sense? You added what would have been your minimum payment, $217 a month. You invested over 40 years, assuming a 12% interest. You would then have $3,597,615.75. Can you say wow? Wow. Wow. What? How much of a difference do you think you could make in this world if you had money like that. How much of a difference do you think if you'd break out of the mold and instead of doing something like everyone else does, you'd do something, you'd be weird, and you'd have some sacrifice and some self-control. Let's look at the third value. The third value is embracing the value of planning. Everybody say planning. Jesus said this, Luke 14:28. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have what? Enough money to complete it. Don't you want to first see if you have enough money before you go and try to buy it? Proverbs 21:5 says, the plans of the diligent lead to what? Lead to profit, as surely as what? As surely as haste leads to poverty. The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. Here's the deal. You can wander into debt, but you can't wander out. You got to get a plan. And if I had more time, I'd go into a detailed explanation of how you create a budget, but it really is a more detailed conversation. And so what I recommend wholeheartedly, my financial mentor and good friend is Dave Ramsey. We followed him since we were in our mid-20s, have been friends with him since our late 20s. His class, Financial Peace, we've been through it I don't know how many times. We've helped lead people through it. It's the best investment I know, and it will cover everything in there. In fact, Dave's going to help me answer your questions in the 5th week of this series, and I recommend it with all my heart. He's going to teach you several baby steps. I'll give you the first 2. The first one, if you're taking notes, the first step we're going to take is we're going to save $1,000 for emergencies because things are going to break. You're going to get a ball through your window. Your refrigerator is going to break down. Your car is going to get a flat tire, and your kid is going to stick a marble up his nose, and you're going to have to go to the emergency room to try to get that thing out, okay? How are you going to get $1,000? I don't know, but you're going to get it. You're going to sell some stuff. eBay and Craigslist are now your best friends. Sell everything until the kids are nervous. Sell the cat. Sell everything, okay? You may get a second job. You may clip coupons, not Groupon, coupons. Don't come home and say, oh, I saved 50% on a Brazilian butt wax on Groupon, okay? If you didn't know you needed it and you saw it on Groupon, you're not saving money, you're spending money, and you're going to save $1,000. The second thing you're going to do is what we call the debt snowball. Write that down. We're going to do the debt snowball, and now let me show you how it's done. What I'm going to show you is what finance legend and my good friend Dave Ramsey calls the debt snowball. This is the absolute best and fastest way to get unstrapped and to free yourself from the bondage of debt. What I'm about to cover with you is one of the most important things that you can ever learn about your personal finances. Are you ready? Let's do it. Look at the bottom of your notes and let's attack this together. Here's what we've got. This is an imaginary list of our debts, what we owe to others. In this sample list, you'll see the different people or businesses we owe listed in the first column. In the second column, you'll find the amount that's owed to each one. You see, we owe $450 to Lowe's for the power tools that we always wanted, $650 to Target for the cute top, the belt, the earrings, and the hat to match, plus the ketchup, Oreos, and pickles, and all the other things you craved when you were pregnant. We also owe $1,600 to our parents, who let us borrow the money to replace our air conditioning unit when it went down, and so on. In the third column, you'll see the minimum payment. This is the minimum amount that we're required to pay each month, and we've been faithfully paying the minimum, but we are sick and tired of being strapped. So, what are we going to do? Again, what we're going to look at is something that could change your life forever. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to find an extra $200 a month. Now, you're probably thinking, where in the world am I going to find an extra $200 a month? And that's a good question. I don't know the answer to the question, but you will find it. You'll get very, very creative and find $200 extra a month.
If you have to take a second job delivering pizzas, or if you have to eliminate your satellite television or your mobile data plan, or start brown bagging it, or skipping your $4 daily dose of overpriced caffeine, or whatever, you'll find $200 a month. And what you do with this $200 a month will change future generations. Here's how it'll play out. Let's start with Lowe's. We owe them $450. Your minimum payment, remember, is $50. Now, you'll pay them $50 and add to it the $200 that we just found, totaling $250 a month. And within a matter of only a couple of months, Lowe's is gone. Bye-bye, Lowe's. We'll never have to worry about that debt again. Now, we're going to let the money start to snowball away the debt. How will we do it? Now we're going to attack Target. We've already been paying Target $30 a month. Now we're going to take the $30 and add to it $250 a month. Now you may ask, where did we get $250 a month? You remember, we just freed up $250 a month because we paid off Lowe's. Now we're going to take that $250 and the $30, and together we have $280. And guess what? In just a matter of a couple of months, Target is gone as well, and the snowball is starting to get bigger. Now, let's take our parents. We're paying them $200 a month. We'll add to it the $280 that we freed up because we no longer have to pay Lowe's or Target, and now we've got $480 a month going to pay off Mom and Dad. Again, in a matter of a few short months, Mom and Dad are paid for, they're happy, we're happy, and we're going to take this money and let it grow every single month and apply it to the next debt that we owe, starting with the smallest amount of debt so we can knock it out, and going piece by piece down to the largest. We're going to pay off all of our debt with the debt snowball. We're going to wipe out everything we owe but the house. Now, how will this benefit you in the long run? Let me show you something that is really, really amazing. If you just continue to pay minimum payments, like so many people do, if you're taking notes, write this down. It's going to take you 120 months to pay off your debt. That's 10 years before you pay off all this debt, and that's assuming you don't take on any more. Now, watch this. If you do the debt snowball, your payoff time is not 120 months, not 10 years, but instead only 21 months. That's a difference of 99 months of not paying any debt. Can you say, wow? Now, buckle your seatbelt and get ready for this. If you take $1,110, now, where do we get $1,110? If you look at the debt we just paid off, you freed up $1,110 a month in debt payments that you no longer have. If you take that money and invest it at 8% for that same 99 months that you would have been paying off your debt, at the end of that time period, guess how much money you'll have? You'll have $153,992.30. Check it out. In most parts of the world, what did that buy you? That will buy you a house paid for in cash, totally debt-free, including a house in only 10 years. You can do it if you'll get crazy with the debt snowball. Let no debt remain outstanding except the continual debt to love. We don't serve money, we serve God. Money serves us as we serve God. If you live like no one else, one day you can live like no one else.